The son of All Blacks legend Sir Michael Jones is staying in Auckland to play his provincial rugby. A rising star who recently captained St Peter's College to the National Secondary Schools title, Niko Jones announced today he had turned down an offer from Canterbury and the Crusaders to sign a 2-year deal to stay in Auckland instead. Jones, who has not long completed his exams after his final year of school, was also recently named as a surprise inclusion in the New Zealand men's sevens team for their 2019 season. The 18-year-old spoke to media earlier today, and here's what he had to say when he was asked what it's like being the son of one of this country's greatest rugby players.
It's a privilege, and I think I've said it not because he's an All Black, but because he's a great dad, and he's he's loving, he's supportive, and in every way he's helped me just to grow as a man and also as a rugby player. And he can be hard on me, but I know he's always for the best of me, and he will point out when I've done bad, but he'll point out when I've done good, and yeah, it's been good. There's can be pressure, and people always talk about it, but I guess it's just what it is, and I just have to take it and just keep and run with it. So yeah, and yeah, I can't say I didn't want it, because I'm just thankful that he's my dad, and he's been as good as he is to me.
And that was 18-year-old Niko Jones, who has signed a 2-year deal to play rugby for Auckland. Our sports reporter Clay Wilson is here to talk about Niko and other sporting matters. That was gorgeous, wasn't it? It gave his father such big ups there. And what else can you tell us about his decision to stay in Auckland?
Well, it was a decision he didn't make lightly, because there was a lot of interest in him. He is one of the hottest young prospects in New Zealand rugby, really. He was a star of this year's schoolboys competition, captained St Peter's College to the 2018 schoolboys title. Also worth noting, he's a lot like his father, as people would have seen who watched that video. Quite stocky, very fast, but a very powerfully built player as well. So because of how talented he is, he was chased quite heavily by a number of unions, turned down a very good offer from Canterbury, ultimately decided to stay here in Auckland, probably for 2 reasons. The first is that, as you mentioned in your intro there, he's made the New Zealand men's sevens team. Now, they're now based in Mount Maunganui, so I guess it made sense to him to stay in this part of the country for this initial part of his provincial career. You also can't help but think that for sentimental value, playing for not only his home province, but also for the province that his dad played for so long. Played 15 years for Michael Jones for Auckland, as well as 55 tests for the All Blacks. So some sentimental value in deciding to play his first years of provincial rugby here in Auckland.
And listening to him talk, you can tell that family is really important to him.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, let's stay with rugby. All Blacks, final test against Italy in Rome on Sunday, but what? Interest in the game not as high as interest in some peripheral matters?
Yeah, that's fair to say. That's obviously trying to bounce back from that defeat to Ireland last weekend. That was an upset, but it would really be a massive boil-over if they lost to Italy in Rome this weekend. So for that reason, it's reflected in selection. We've got 11 changes in the starting 15, a number of what you would probably call second-string players playing in the 23 for the All Blacks. So for that reason, this week there's been more interest on the likes of Kieran Reid, his form, which Steve Hanson's come out this week and said, he's not really that worried about it. His position as captain is not under threat. And also on the coaching situation with Hanson himself, who's going to make a decision, he says, before Christmas about his future beyond the 2019 World Cup. And also Ireland coach Joe Schmidt. Now, for those that don't know, Joe Schmidt is a New Zealander himself.
Yeah.
Obviously had a lot of success with Ireland. He's taken them from 8th in the world rankings in 2013 to now to 2nd. 2 wins over the All Blacks in the last 2 years, so no mean feat. If he does come back here, he's touted to be one of the favourites to take over from Hanson when he steps down. So a lot of interest from not only Ireland if he's going to stay, but also New Zealand if he's going to come back and put his hat in the ring to be the next All Blacks coach.
Don't want to put you on the spot, but if you were a betting man, what do you reckon?
It sounds to me like he's going to stay in Ireland. He's been there for a number of years now. He coached club rugby there before he coached the Irish national team. So it does sound like he's going to stay, but you never know. The lure of the All Blacks is very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Motorsport now. The all-Kiwi battle for the Supercars title already underway across the ditch.
Yeah, it's the final round of the Supercars season. We've already had the first practice session this afternoon in Newcastle on the New South Wales coast. Second practice session just finishing up now, I think. So as you say, 2 Kiwis fighting for the title. We've got Scott McLaughlin, but he's just 14 points ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen. So in Supercars speak, it's very close. It's actually the closest margin since this current point system was introduced 10 years ago. So we've got Van Gisbergen. He's won a title in 2016. McLaughlin, motorsport fans will remember well, came very close last year. Ended up finishing second. So there's a lot in it for both of them. 2 races, one tomorrow and one on Sunday. So yeah, going to be very close and very entertaining for Kiwi fans of Supercars.
And for others who want to stay on the couch and glued to the television screen or listening to the radio, what is on offer in terms of sports over the weekend?
Yeah, it seems a bit strange to put these sort of towards the back, but we've got the second cricket test and New Zealand obviously coming off a thrilling win against Pakistan in that first test. So that starts tomorrow night in Dubai. New Zealand leading the 3-match series 1-0. Then we've also got 2 lots of women's football teams playing overseas, most notably the under-17 women's team at their World Cup in Uruguay. They're through to the quarterfinals and bidding to become the first New Zealand team to make it beyond getting past their group stage and then getting out of that stage. So the third stage of a football World Cup. And we also have the football ferns, the national women's team. They're playing the Oceania Nations Cup. Now this is important because the winner of this tournament qualifies for next year's World Cup in France, and the football ferns have won every edition of this tournament, so favourites to do so again.
So order in and hunker down.
Yeah, definitely. Get on the couch.
Thank you. That is Clay Wilson with all you need to know about what's happening in sport over the weekend.